Commander Lyrics pressed his thin fingers against the control panel as his ship shook violently. The lights flickered on and off, casting strange shadows across the bridge. His skin, normally a soft blue glow, now pulsed with bright red streaks of fear and panic. Around him, his crew worked frantically at their stations, their own crystalline bodies showing the same red warning colors. "Shields down to 30%, called out Science Officer Kalina from her position near the back of the bridge. Her voice carried the musical tone that all Zephyrians shared, but now it was tight with worry. "The Vorthic ships are targeting our engines next." Lyrics looked at the main screen, where 3 massive dark ships surrounded his vessel like hungry predators. The Vorthic Empire had been hunting his people for months, capturing their ships and enslaving entire crews. The research vessel Harmony's Edge had been studying peaceful star formations when the enemy found them. "How long until they board us?" Lyrics asked his tactical officer. "Their boarding pods are already attached to sections 4 and 7, came the reply. "We have maybe 10 minutes before they cut through our hull." The Vorthic were nothing like the gentle Zephyrians. They stood twice as tall as any civilized being, with thick gray skin covered in battle scars. Their faces looked like carved stone, with small red eyes that showed no mercy. They lived only to conquer and destroy, taking whatever they wanted from weaker species. Another blast hit the ship, and Lyrics stumbled backward. Emergency alarms filled the air with their harsh sounds. He watched his crew struggle to keep the ship running, but he knew they were fighting a losing battle. The Harmony's Edge was built for research, not war. Its thin hull and weak weapons were no match for Vorthic warships. "Sir, we're receiving a communication from the lead Vorthic vessel," reported his communications officer, a young Zephyrian named Vex, whose skin now showed pale yellow stripes of terror. "Put it through," Lyrics said, though he already knew what he would hear. The screen filled with the horrible face of a Vorthic commander. Deep scars ran across his face, and metal implants replaced one of his eyes. When he spoke, his voice sounded like grinding stones. "Zephyrian vessel, you will surrender immediately. Your crew will be taken as slaves. Your ship and all research. Data will belong to the Vorthic Empire. You have 5 minutes to comply." The transmission ended abruptly. Lyrics looked around at his crew, seeing the same hopeless expression on every face. They all knew what happened to those captured by the Vorthic. The lucky ones died quickly in the fighting pits. The unlucky ones worked in the deep mines until they collapsed from exhaustion. "Commander," Kalana said quietly, moving closer to his command chair, "I have an idea, but it's very dangerous." Lyrics turned to face her. Kalana had been his science officer for over 5 years. She was brilliant, often finding solutions when others saw only problems. "Tell me." "The quantum beacon we've been testing. It's designed to send signals across multiple dimensions and vast distances. We could use it to send a distress call." "To whom?" Lyrics asked. "The nearest collective fleet is weeks away. The Vorthic will have us long before help arrives." Kalina's skin flickered with nervous green patterns. "Not just to the collective. The beacon can reach any species with faster-than-light travel capability. Someone might be closer than we think." Lyrics considered this. The quantum beacon was experimental technology, never tested at full power. It might work, or it might explode and destroy what was left of his ship. But staying meant certain capture and slavery for his crew. "What are the risks?" he asked. "The beacon draws enormous power. It might overload our remaining systems. Also, we don't know who might receive the signal. It could attract someone even worse than the Vorthic." Another impact shook the ship, stronger than before. Sparks flew from several control panels, and the lights went out completely for several seconds. When they came back on, they were much dimmer than before. "Engines are offline," reported the tactical officer. "We're dead in space. Lyrics made his decision. Kalana, prepare the quantum beacon. Send out a general distress signal with our coordinates. Include all the information about our research data and the Vorthic threat. Yes, sir. Kalana rushed to her station and began working rapidly. Her fingers danced across the controls as she prepared the beacon for transmission. The ship shook again, and this time they could hear the horrible sound of metal being cut. The Vorthic were burning through the hull. Soon they would flood into the ship with their terrible weapons and chains. Beacon is ready, Kalina announced. The signal will translate automatically into any language system it encounters. It should reach dozens of star systems within hours. Do it, Lyrics commanded. Kalana activated the beacon. The lights dimmed even further as the device drew power from the ship's dying systems. On her screen, she could see the signal spreading outward like ripples in a pond, carried by quantum waves that moved faster than light itself. The message was simple. Peaceful research vessel under attack by hostile forces. Any civilized species capable of faster-than-light travel, please respond. Coordinates attached. We have valuable scientific data that must not fall into enemy hands. Signal transmitted, Kalana reported. It's spreading across 7 different galactic regions. Lyrics nodded grimly. Now they could only wait and hope that someone friendly would receive their call for help. The sound of cutting metal grew louder, and he could see the red glow of Vorthic cutting tools through the hull. All crew, prepare for boarding, he announced over the ship's communication system. Hide the research data and remember your training. We are Zephyrians. We do not give up hope. As the first Vorthic soldiers burned through the hull, Lyrics wondered if anyone would answer their desperate call. He had no way of knowing that his signal had already reached a place marked in most galactic databases as Forbidden Territory, a region where beings lived who are far more dangerous than any Vorthic warrior could imagine. Lieutenant Katie Barnes sat in the communications center of Luna Base, sipping her 3rd cup of coffee of the night shift. The monitoring station was quiet, except for the soft hum of computers and the occasional beep of routine signals from Earth's merchant ships. She had been watching the same screens for 6 hours, and her eyes were starting to feel heavy. Then something completely unexpected happened. A sharp alarm cut through the quiet air, and Katie's coffee cup nearly fell from her hands. The main screen lit up with flashing red warnings as the computer systems tried to process an incoming signal unlike anything they had seen before. What in the world? Katie muttered, leaning forward to examine the data. The signal was clearly artificial, but it didn't match any known human communication protocols. The computer was working hard to decode it, running through thousands of possible languages and formats. Commander Sullivan, you need to see this right now, Katie called to her superior, who was reviewing reports at a nearby desk. Commander Jake. Sullivan walked over, his weathered face showing the experience of 30 years in the Earth Defense Force. He had seen humanity's first contact with hostile alien species, and he knew the signs of something important when he saw them. What do you have, Barnes? He asked, settling into a chair next to her station. Unknown signal, sir. It's definitely not from any human source. The computer is trying to translate it now. Katie pointed at the screen where symbols and numbers were changing rapidly as the translation programs worked. Sullivan frowned. Where did it come from? That's the strange part. The signal seems to have traveled through some kind of quantum transmission system. It's not following normal physics. The origin point is approximately 47 light-years from Earth in the Kepler 442 system. The translation program suddenly stopped, and text appeared on the screen in clear English. Both Katie and Sullivan read it carefully, their expressions growing more serious with each word. A distress call, Sullivan said quietly. From a peaceful research vessel under attack. Katie nodded. The signal includes coordinates and mentions valuable scientific data. But sir, Look at this. She pointed to another section of the screen. The computer analyzed the transmission method. This isn't just a radio signal. It's some kind of advanced quantum beacon that can reach across multiple dimensions. Sullivan studied the data for several minutes. He had been in the military long, enough to recognize the signs of a trap, but something about this signal felt genuine. The desperation in the message was clear, and the technology required to send it suggested a species far more advanced than the hostile aliens Earth had encountered before. "Get me Admiral Rodriguez at Fleet Command immediately," Sullivan ordered, "and wake up the entire translation team. I want to know everything about this signal and the species that sent it." 2 hours later, Admiral Helen Rodriguez was reviewing the same data in her office at Earth Defense Force headquarters. She was a tough woman who had risen through the ranks during humanity's most dangerous years, when alien raiders had threatened Earth's outer colonies. The Admiral had learned to make quick decisions based on incomplete information. "What do we know about this Kepler 442 system?" she asked her intelligence officer, Colonel Robert Hayes. "It's in a region where our long-range scouts have reported unusual military activity over the past few months. Several unidentified fleets have been moving through that area, but we've stayed clear because it's outside our normal patrol routes." Rodriguez nodded. "And our closest forces?" "A third fleet is currently on patrol near the outer rim, about 3 days away at maximum speed. Captain Murphy's battleship group with 11 other vessels." The Admiral considered her options. Earth's policy had always been to avoid getting involved in alien conflicts unless human interests were directly threatened. But this situation felt different. The signal had specifically asked for help from any civilized species, and the advanced technology suggested these aliens might be valuable allies. "Send orders to Captain Murphy," Rodriguez decided. "Have the Third Fleet investigate the source of this signal. They are to offer assistance if possible, but they are not to take unnecessary risks." Captain Ryan Murphy received his new orders while the battleship Defiance was conducting routine patrol exercises near the edge of human space. He was a career military officer who had commanded ships in 3 major conflicts against hostile alien forces. His crew respected him for his tactical skills and his ability to make tough decisions under pressure. Murphy called his senior officers to the bridge to review the situation. His executive officer, Commander Lisa Warren, studied the translated message with interest. "This is definitely not like the other alien species we've encountered," she said. "The language patterns suggest a peaceful, scientific culture, very different from the raiders and slavers we usually deal with." Lieutenant Amy Chun, the ship's tactical officer, looked up from her analysis of the signal's origin. "Captain, the quantum transmission technology is incredibly advanced. If we could establish friendly contact with these aliens, the scientific benefits could be enormous." Murphy nodded thoughtfully. "But we need to be careful. This could be a trap, or we might be walking into a situation we don't understand." He turned to his communications officer. "Send a message to the rest of the fleet. We're changing course for the Kepler 442 system. All ships are to prepare for possible combat operations." The Third Fleet consisted of 12 vessels, each one built for the harsh realities of defending human space. The battleships Defiance, Thunderbolt, and Warrior carried enough firepower to level a small moon. The 4 cruisers were fast and deadly, designed to hunt down enemy ships that tried to escape. The 3 destroyers were smaller, but packed with the latest human weapons technology. As the fleet prepared to jump to hyperspace, Murphy reviewed everything they knew about the situation. The distress signal had been sent by a species calling themselves Zephyrians, who claimed to be peaceful researchers. They were under attack by something called the Vorthic Empire, which the message described as hostile and dangerous. "Sir," Lieutenant Chun reported, "all ships are ready for hyperspace jump. Murphy settled into his command chair and looked at the star field visible through the bridge windows. Somewhere out there, aliens were fighting and dying, and they had asked for help. It didn't matter that they were not human. They were in trouble, and the Third Fleet had the power to help them. All ships, this is Captain Murphy. Execute hyperspace jump to Kepler 442 system. Time to see what's out there. The fleet disappeared into hyperspace, carrying humanity toward its first encounter with the wider galactic community. None of them knew that their arrival would change everything, or that the peaceful aliens they were rushing to help had accidentally summoned the most dangerous military force in their region of space. The Third Fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system, their ships appearing in flashes of blue light as they returned to normal space. Captain Murphy immediately ordered all vessels to battle stations as his sensors began scanning the area. "Report," Murphy commanded from his position on the bridge of the Defiance. Lieutenant Amy Chun worked rapidly at her tactical station, her fingers flying across the controls as she processed the incoming data. "Sir, I'm reading multiple contacts. One damaged vessel approximately 2 million kilometers from our position, and 3 larger ships in close formation around it." Murphy studied the tactical display that appeared on the main screen. The damaged ship was clearly in trouble, with energy readings that suggested massive system failures. The 3 larger vessels were positioned like predators, circling wounded prey. "The damaged ship matches the quantum signature from the distress signal," reported Communications Officer Lieutenant Ben Adams. "That has to be the Zephyrian vessel. Commander." Lisa Warren moved to stand beside Murphy's command chair. "Captain, those larger ships have weapon signatures I've never seen before. They're definitely not human design." Murphy nodded grimly. "And they're not broadcasting any identification signals. In my experience, that usually means trouble." On the bridge of the Harmony's edge, Commander Lyrics watched his sensors with growing amazement. The unknown vessels had appeared from nowhere, using some kind of technology that his ship's computers couldn't identify. The new arrivals were smaller than the Vorthic dreadnoughts, but something about their angular, aggressive design made his crew nervous. "Sir," Science Officer Kelana said quietly, "these ships don't appear in any of our databases. The hull materials and weapon configurations are completely unknown." Lyrics studied the tactical display. The mysterious vessels were moving in perfect formation, their approach careful and controlled. Whoever they were, they clearly had military training and discipline. "Are they responding to our distress signal?" he asked. "Unknown, sir. They haven't attempted to communicate yet." 3 kilometers away, War Chief Brutax examined the same tactical information from the bridge of his flagship. The Vorthic commander was a massive creature, even by the standards of his warrior race. Battle scars covered his gray skin and metal. Implants replaced parts of his body that had been destroyed in countless fights. "What are those ships?" demanded Brutax, his voice like grinding stone. His tactical officer, a smaller Vorthic named Scare, studied the readings with confusion. "Unknown design, War Chief. They appear to be warships, but they're much smaller than our vessels. Possibly scavengers hoping to claim salvage from the battle." Brutax laughed harshly. "Scavengers in this sector? They must be very stupid or very brave. Either way, they will learn what happens to those who interfere with the Vorthic Empire." The War Chief had conquered dozens of star systems and enslaved entire species. His 3 dreadnoughts had never been defeated in battle, and he saw no reason to worry about a few small alien vessels. "Move to intercept," Brutax ordered. "If they do not retreat immediately, we will destroy them." Captain Murphy watched the tactical display as the 3 large alien ships changed course toward his fleet. Their movement was aggressive and purposeful, clearly intended as a threat. "Sir," Lieutenant Chun reported, The unknown vessels are powering up their weapon systems. They're definitely hostile. Murphy had faced this situation many times before. Unknown aliens approaching with weapons ready usually meant only one thing. He had learned through bitter experience that in space, it was better to shoot first and ask questions later. All ships, this is Captain Murphy. Unknown vessels are showing hostile intent. Prepare for combat. Protect the damaged ship that sent the distress signal. The human fleet spread out into attack formation, each ship moving to its assigned position. With practiced precision, the battleships took the lead, their heavy armor and powerful weapons ready to absorb the first enemy attack. The cruisers moved to flank the alien vessels, while the destroyers positioned themselves to protect the fleet's support ships. Rutax watched the human formation with amusement. Look how they scatter like frightened insects. This will be over. Quickly. He opened a communication channel to the human fleet, his ugly face appearing on screens throughout the Third Fleet. When he spoke, his words were automatically translated by the ship's computers. Unknown vessels, you are in Vorthok. Space. Retreat immediately or be destroyed. You have 1 minute to comply. Captain Murphy looked at the alien commander on his screen and felt a familiar cold anger building in his chest. He had seen too many bullies in his career, beings who used superior force to terrorize weaker species. A damaged research vessel was clearly no threat to anyone, yet these creatures were preparing to destroy it. This is Captain Murphy of the Earth Defense Force, he replied calmly. We are responding to a distress signal from a peaceful research vessel. Stand down your weapons and withdraw from this area. Brutax's red eyes narrowed with rage. No one had ever dared to give him orders before. Earth Defense Force? I have. Never heard of your pathetic species. You will regret challenging the might of the Vorthok Empire. The communication ended, and both fleets prepared for battle. On the Harmony's edge, Commander Lyrics watched with growing fear as the two groups of warships faced each other. His people had called for help, but now it seemed they had only brought more violence to their situation. Should we try to contact the newcomers? Kalana asked. Not yet, Lyrics replied. Let's see what happens. If these new ships are defeated, we'll still be prisoners of the Vorthok. If they win, maybe we can negotiate with them. War Chief Brutax had had enough of talking. His 3 dreadnoughts opened fire simultaneously, their massive plasma cannons sending streams of superheated energy toward the human fleet. The weapons were designed to melt through the armor of any known starship, and Brutax expected to see. The smaller vessels vaporized instantly out instead. The human ships absorbed the plasma blasts with minimal damage. Their hulls were designed to withstand the radiation and heat of Earth's violent solar system, and the alien weapons were no more dangerous than a solar flare. What? Brutax roared in disbelief. How are they still intact? Before his tactical officer could answer, the human fleet returned fire. The battleship Defiance launched a spread of magnetic accelerator rounds that crossed the distance between the fleets in seconds. The metal projectiles, accelerated to incredible speeds, punched through the lead Vorthok dreadnought's shields like they were made of paper. The Vorthok ship shuddered under the impact, its hull cracking open to space. Emergency alarms filled the bridge as atmosphere rushed out through the holes. Impossible, Brutax whispered, watching his flagship's armor fail under the human assault. No species has weapons that powerful. The battle had only just begun, but already it was clear that the Vorthok had made a terrible mistake. They had challenged a species that was far more dangerous than they could have imagined. The space around Kepler 442 erupted into chaos as the human fleet unleashed its full firepower on the Vorthok ships. Captain Murphy watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction as his weapons found their targets. Direct hits on the lead vessel, Lieutenant Chun reported. Their shields are down to 60% and falling fast. The Vorthik had made a critical error in their assessment of human technology. Their weapons were designed to fight other galactic civilizations, species, that had evolved on peaceful worlds with gentle environments. The Vorthik had never encountered a species that came from a planet like Earth, where survival required dealing with constant natural disasters, deadly weather, and radiation from an unstable star. Commander Lisa Warren studied the enemy ship. Designs with professional interest. Their hulls are too thin, she observed. They're built for fighting in space, where the biggest threats are energy weapons and solar radiation. They never expected to face kinetic projectiles moving at these speeds. Murphy nodded. Human weapons technology had developed along different lines than most galactic civilizations. While other species focused on energy weapons and shields, humans had perfected the art of throwing very heavy objects very fast. The magnetic accelerator cannons could launch projectiles at significant fractions of light speed, and few materials in the galaxy could withstand that kind of impact. War Chief Brutax felt his flagship shudder as another spread of human projectiles tore through his ship's hull. Emergency lights flashed red across the bridge, and the smell of burning electronics filled the air. Damage report, he roared at his tactical officer. Multiple hull breaches on decks 7 through 12, Scare replied, his voice tight with fear. Engine efficiency down to 40%. Weapon systems are operating at reduced capacity. Brutax couldn't believe what he was hearing. His dreadnoughts were the most powerful warships in this sector of space. They had destroyed entire fleets of enemy vessels without taking significant damage. Now a handful of smaller alien ships were tearing them apart. All ships, concentrate fire on the largest human vessel, he ordered. We will destroy their flagship and force the others to retreat. The 3 Vorthik dreadnoughts turned their weapons on the battleship Defiance, sending streams of plasma and particle beams toward Murphy's ship. The human vessel's shields flared as they absorbed the energy, but the hull remained intact. Shields holding at 80%, reported the defensive systems officer. Hull temperature rising, but still within acceptable limits. Murphy smiled grimly. The Defiance had been built to operate in the inner solar system, where solar radiation and magnetic fields could destroy lesser vessels. The Vorthik weapons were dangerous, but they were nothing compared to flying through a solar storm or fighting near an unstable star. Return fire, Murphy ordered. Target their weapon systems. Let's see how they like being on the receiving end. The Defiance's main gun spoke again, sending a concentrated barrage of accelerator rounds toward the Vorthik flagship. The projectiles struck the alien ship's weapon arrays, smashing the delicate plasma cannons and particle beam generators. Secondary explosions rippled along the Vorthik hull as power systems overloaded. On the bridge of the Harmony's edge, Commander Lyrics watched the battle with growing amazement. The mysterious newcomers were systematically destroying a Vorthik fleet that had terrorized his people for months. The alien warships moved with deadly precision, their weapons striking exactly where they would do the most damage. Sir, Science Officer Kelana said quietly, I'm analyzing the human weapon signatures. These aren't energy weapons at all. They're firing solid projectiles at incredibly high speeds. Lyric stared at the tactical display. Solid projectiles? That's impossible. No civilized species uses kinetic weapons in space combat. They're too crude and inefficient. That's what I thought too, Kalana replied. But look at the results. The Vorthik shields are designed to deflect energy weapons, not physical objects. The human projectiles are going right through them. The battle continued to rage around them, but it was becoming clear that the Vorthik were losing badly. The lead dreadnought was venting atmosphere from dozens of hull breaches, and its weapon systems were almost completely destroyed. The other 2 Vorthik ships were trying to retreat, but the human cruisers were moving to intercept them. Captain Murphy studied the tactical situation, and made a decision that would haunt War Chief Brutax for the rest of his life. All ships target the enemy engines. Disable them, but don't destroy them completely. We want prisoners for questioning. The human fleet adjusted their aim, sending precise shots into the Vorthic propulsion systems. The alien ships found themselves dead in space, their engines destroyed, but their crews still alive. War Chief Brutax felt his ship shudder to a stop as the last of his engines failed. Around him, his bridge crew worked frantically to restore power, but the damage was too extensive. They were helpless, floating in space while the human ships circled them like predators. "War Chief," Scare said quietly, "we're receiving a transmission from the human flagship." Brutax's face appeared on Murphy's screen, showing the damage to the Vorthic bridge. Smoke filled the air behind the alien commander, and sparks flew from damaged equipment. "This is Captain Murphy. Your ships are disabled, and your crews are in danger. Surrender now, and we will provide medical assistance to your wounded." Brutax stared at the human captain in disbelief. In all his years of conquest, no enemy had ever offered to help his wounded after defeating him in battle. The concept was so alien to Vorthic, thinking that he couldn't process it. "You offer to help us?" he asked, his voice filled with confusion. "We are your enemies. We tried to destroy you." Murphy's expression remained calm and professional. "You're defeated, and you're no longer a threat. Your crews need medical attention, and it's the right thing to do." The right thing to do. Brutax had never heard those words used in the context of warfare before. The Vorthic Empire conquered and enslaved. They took what they wanted and destroyed what they couldn't use. The idea of helping a defeated enemy was completely foreign to their culture. "I do not understand," Brutax said finally. "What do you want from us?" "Information," Murphy replied. "Why were you attacking that research vessel? What is the Vorthic Empire, and why are you in this system?" Brutax considered his options. His ships were destroyed, his crews were injured, and he was completely at the mercy of these strange humans. But something about their behavior suggested they might actually keep their word about providing medical assistance. "The Zephyrians possess technology we require," he said slowly. "Their research data contains information about quantum communication systems. The Empire needs this technology to expand our territory." Murphy nodded. "And you are planning to take it by force?" "Of course. They are weak. We are strong. That is the way of the galaxy." "Not anymore," Murphy said quietly. "At least not in this system. Stand by for boarding parties. We'll get your wounded to medical facilities." The communication ended, and Brutax slumped in his command chair. In less than an hour, his fleet had been destroyed by aliens he had never heard of. Worse yet, these humans seemed to possess both overwhelming military power and a moral code that prevented them from using it for conquest. As human rescue teams began docking with the disabled Vorthic ships, Brutax realized that everything had changed. The galaxy now contained a species that could fight like demons, but showed mercy to the defeated. He didn't know what that meant for the future, but he was certain that the Vorthic Empire would never be the same again. 3 hours after the battle ended, Captain Murphy stood in the docking bay of the Harmony's Edge, preparing for humanity's first formal contact with a friendly alien species. The Zephyrian ship was badly damaged, but its crew had managed to restore basic life support systems with help from human engineers. Dr. Lisa Martinez adjusted her translation device one final time before following Murphy through the airlock. As the fleet's chief medical officer and xenobiologist, she had been chosen to lead the first contact team. Behind her came Sergeant Dan Foster, a communications specialist, and Commander Alex Parker, the fleet's security chief. The interior of the Zephyrian ship was unlike anything the humans had seen before. The corridors were lined with crystalline panels that glowed with soft blue light, and the air carried a faint musical quality that seemed to come from the ship's very structure. Everything was designed for beings much smaller and more delicate than humans. Commander Lyrics waited for them in what appeared to be a conference room. The Zephyrian leader was about 5 feet tall, with translucent skin that showed a complex network of glowing veins beneath. His large eyes were filled with curiosity and gratitude as he watched the humans enter. "I am Commander Lyrics of the research vessel Harmony's Edge," he said, his voice carrying that same musical quality the humans had noticed in the ship's structure. "I cannot express how grateful we are for your assistance." Dr. Martinez activated her translation device and stepped forward. "I am Dr. Lisa Martinez, representing the Earth Defense Force. This is Captain Murphy, our fleet commander. We're honored to make contact with your people." Lyrics's skin shifted to display patterns of green and gold, which the translation device identified as expressions of joy and respect. "Please sit down. We have much to discuss." The humans took seats around a table that adjusted itself automatically to their size. Captain Murphy studied the Zephyrian commander with professional interest. Everything about Lyrics and his crew suggested a peaceful, scientifically advanced civilization. "Commander Lyrics," Murphy began, "we need to understand the situation here. The Vortha claimed they were trying to capture your research data. What kind of technology do you possess that would make them so determined to take it?" Lyrics exchanged glances with Science Officer Kalana, who had joined them for the meeting. "We are researchers studying quantum communication systems. Our work involves sending messages across vast distances using quantum entanglement principles. The beacon that brought you here was our latest experiment." Dr. Martinez leaned forward with interest. "Quantum entanglement communication? That's theoretical technology for us. We've never been able to make it work on a practical level. For US, it is relatively simple," Kalana explained. "Most galactic civilizations have had this technology for thousands of years. It is how we maintain contact across interstellar distances." Captain Murphy felt a chill run down his spine. "Most galactic civilizations? How many species are we talking about?" Lyrics's skin displayed puzzled yellow patterns. "In this region of space? Perhaps 50 different species that we know of. The Zephyrian collective alone includes 12 different worlds." The humans exchanged glances. They had assumed that intelligent life was rare in the galaxy, but it seemed they were wrong, very wrong. "Commander," Dr. Martinez said carefully, "we need to ask you something important. In your databases, do you have any record of our species? Humans from a planet called Earth?" Lyrics consulted a small device that appeared to be some kind of computer interface. "Earth? No, there is no record of your species in our databases. Where is your home system located?" Captain Murphy provided the coordinates, and Lyrics's expression grew worried. "That region of space is marked as a quarantine zone in our star charts. Most species avoid it completely." "Quarantine zone?" Murphy asked. "Why?" "According to our records, that area contains several death worlds. Planets where the environment is so dangerous that any life forms that evolve, they become extremely aggressive and violent. Most galactic civilizations agreed long ago to avoid contact with Deathworld species." The humans sat in stunned silence as the implications sank in. Their own planet, which they considered normal, was apparently considered a nightmare world by galactic standards. They were the monsters that other species were afraid of. "But that doesn't make sense," Dr. Martinez protested. "You called for help, and we came to rescue you. We could have just ignored your signal." Lyrics's skin showed deep blue patterns of contemplation. "Yes, that is what confuses us. According to everything we know about Deathworld species, you should have attacked us immediately or demanded payment for your assistance. Instead, you fought to protect us and even offered medical aid to your defeated enemies. Commander Parker spoke up for the first time. Commander Lyrics, what exactly do your people know about Deathworld species? Very little, Lyrics admitted. Most of our information comes from ancient records and warnings passed down through generations. We know that Deathworld species are incredibly dangerous in combat, and that they tend to be aggressive and territorial. Captain Murphy stood up and walked to the room's viewport, looking out at the stars. We're not naturally aggressive, he said quietly. We fight when we have to, when someone threatens innocent people, or when our own survival is at stake, but we don't enjoy it. That is exactly what makes you so dangerous, Lyrics replied. Most species in the galaxy are peaceful because they evolved on worlds where cooperation was necessary for survival. The few aggressive species we know about are driven by instinct and emotion. They can be predicted and avoided. He paused, studying the humans with his large, expressive eyes. But you are different. You have the capacity for terrible violence. But you also have moral principles that control when and how you use that violence. That combination is unprecedented in our experience. Dr. Martinez nodded slowly. So when you sent out your distress signal, you never expected it to reach us. The quantum beacon was designed to attract peaceful, scientific species, Kalana. Confirmed. We programmed it to avoid regions marked as dangerous in our databases. Your system should have been excluded from the transmission. But it wasn't, Captain Murphy observed. Which means your beacon reached us anyway. Lyrics' skin showed worried red patterns. The beacon was experimental. It's possible that the quantum fields penetrated areas we thought were blocked. We may have accidentally contacted the most dangerous military force in this region of space. The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. Finally, Captain Murphy made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. Commander Lyrics, I'd like to propose something. We'll escort your ship to safety and establish formal diplomatic contact between Earth and the Zephyrian Collective. It's time for our species to join the galactic community. Lyrics' skin flickered through several different color patterns as he processed this suggestion. Captain Murphy, I appreciate your offer, but you must understand the implications. If other species learn that humans exist and are actively expanding into galactic space, it could cause widespread panic. Why? Dr. Martinez asked. Because you represent the end of the peaceful age, Lyrics explained sadly. For thousands of years, most conflicts in this region have been solved through negotiation and compromise. The few aggressive species, like the Vorthik, have been contained through collective action by peaceful civilizations. He gestured toward the viewport, where the disabled Vorthik ships were visible in the distance. But you destroyed a Vorthik battle fleet in less than an hour. You did it so easily that you were able to spare their lives afterward. That level of military power in the hands of any species, even a moral one, will change everything. Captain, Murphy considered this carefully. What if we promised to use our military power only defensively? To protect peaceful species like yours from aggressors like the Vorthik? Even then, Lyrics replied, other species would fear you. They would wonder what would happen if humans ever decided to stop being protective and started being conquering. Instead, Commander Parker leaned forward. Commander Lyrics, with respect, the galaxy already has conquerors. The Vorthik Empire that attacked you, for example. At least with humans involved, peaceful species would have someone capable of protecting them. Lyrics' skin showed complex patterns of blue and green as he struggled with the decision. Finally, he stood up and faced the humans directly. Very well, he said. I will accompany you to Earth as the first official ambassador from the Zephyrian Collective. But I must warn you, this decision will have consequences that none of us can fully predict. 2 days later, the human fleet departed the Kepler 442 system with the repaired Harmony's Edge under escort. Behind them, they left the captured Vorthic ships under guard by a human destroyer, waiting for a collective peacekeeping force to take custody of the prisoners. War Chief Brutax, now confined to a medical bay aboard one of his own ships, dictated a final message to be transmitted to the Vorthic High Command. His words would soon spread throughout the galaxy, carried by traders and diplomats to every corner of civilized space. Command, this is War Chief Brutax of the 7th Fleet. We have encountered a new species of unknown origin. They call themselves humans, and they come from a region marked as quarantine space. There,